I want you to imagine something for a second. You're lying on an exam table. You're not dressed. You don't fully know what's about to happen. Someone walks in, doesn't make eye contact, doesn't tell you what they're doing, just puts their hands on your body and starts moving you. Your nervous system would light up. You might freeze. You might tense. You might want to push them away. Now imagine you're 3 months old. That's what a lot of our babies experience all day long. And then we say, oh, babies just don't like doctors. Or, oh, she's just a fussy baby. Or my favorite is, she's so colicky, which, spoiler alert, colic just means we don't know why, but your baby's not happy. And as a doctor of physical therapy and a lactation consultant, I can tell you there's always a reason why. There's another one too, especially as they get older. Oh, he just hates diaper changes. But I want to gently suggest something different for today's episode. What if these babies are not fussy? What if they're saying, hey, I'm a person and things keep happening to my body without warning? So today we're talking about consent with babies. If you stay to the end, you will hear me having a very sweet conversation with one of my own personal babies who still wears a pull-up at night. And I just wanted to ask him about his experience with having me wipe him down in the morning. So that's coming up for you if you stick around. Here's the big reframe I want to offer for this episode. Consent with babies is not about permission. It's about participation. Welcome to the Be Well Baby podcast. I'm Dr. Emily Spaeth, founder of Be Well Baby in Portland, Oregon, and the Beyond Birth Blueprint, an online community where we support families through pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and especially life with a baby. This podcast exists because pregnancy, birth, and postpartum care in this country are often fragmented, rushed, and missing the whole picture. And I believe families deserve better than what I am seeing in my work as a physical therapist, lactation consultant, and childbirth educator. Just a quick loving note before we dive in. Everything you hear on this podcast is for educational purposes only. It's not medical advice. Every body and every baby and every season is different, and you deserve support that is personalized to you. Let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. Now, I can already hear some of you saying, but Emily, I'm pregnant. I know that babies can't talk when they come out. How am I supposed to actually gain consent from this baby who can't talk to me? But for any of you who already have met your babies, I'm sure that you can tell when they are giving you permission. You know they're communicating with you. So the goal is to be able to read those cues from a very, very early age because they're absolutely communicating with us. One of the foundational things I think about when I'm talking about working with babies is that they are whole humans from day one. They're not incomplete. When I think about babies who I have met at 23 weeks, 24 weeks gestation, these are babies who already have personalities. There is something true about the fact that your baby is the way that they are. They already have the personality they're going to have. And it's just a matter of creating a beautiful, safe environment for them to flourish in. So these babies have whole nervous systems, whole bodies, and they're whole communicators. We just have to learn their cues. When I'm talking about respect for a baby, I'm talking about pausing and checking in before I do something and moving slowly throughout the process. Because here's what we do all day long to babies. We pick them up without warning. We wipe their faces. We undress them. We change their diapers. We position their heads, if you're me. We put things in their mouths. Imagine if someone did that to you repeatedly throughout the day. You would feel out of control. So here's the nervous system piece that really matters. When someone touches you without warning, your startle reflex fires. That is all brainstem level wiring. It's not personality. It's physiology, and it changes based on what you've been up to. I know that when I walk into the room and my friend has been listening to a horror podcast, she's going to be a little more jumpy than if I come in and someone is, having a warm cup of tea while gazing out the window. It's just our physiology. And babies don't have the cognitive overlay yet that says, oh, this is my loving parent and they're going to help me get undressed. All they have is sensation. And unpredictability to a nervous system can feel like a threat. But predictability is safety. So when you narrate what you're doing, when you pause, even for 2 seconds, you give their system time to reorganize. You turn something happening to them into something happening with them. And that shift really matters. So let's talk about what this looks like in real life. It's very simple. You tell your baby what's about to happen, and then you wait. You watch their body's response. You read their body's language, and then you act. So let's take a diaper change. Say your baby is playing in tummy time. And yes, newborns can play. Their play looks like gazing at things. So maybe gazing out the window or looking at an O-ball that is just sitting next to them, or gazing at something just above them, or making eye contact with you. So maybe during their play, they definitely poop. They pooped. And instead of just picking them up from wherever they are, putting them down and changing their diaper, start by saying what you notice. I think you might have pooped. And then you can place your hand on their belly and say, how did that feel? Does your belly feel better now that you pooped? And then you can say, I think you might be more comfortable if I change your diaper. And then they might look at you. And then you can go get a fresh diaper, maybe get your wipes and show it to your baby. You could even hand it to your baby and say, here's your diaper. And then maybe even hand them a wipe and say, feel how cold this wipe is. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, I have a newborn and my newborn would not respond to these things. Yeah, you're right. But imagine if you do this every single diaper change. By the time they have any amount of cognitive ability or dexterity to actually hold the diaper, they will. And that rhythm, that routine, that predictability will be so reassuring. So then you say, let's unsnap your onesie. Snap, snap, snap. And you can snap each snap by itself. You can count them. That's another really good cognitive task. Newborn counting. 1 snap, 2 snap, 3 snaps. And then you can gently put their hands on their body and wait. Notice anything going on. Are they making eye contact with you? Are their limbs relaxed? And if so, you can continue. You can say, I'm going to move the bottom of your onesie out of the way so that I can put a diaper underneath. Here's that fresh diaper. Now let's open the right side of your diaper. Now let's open the left side of your diaper. And as you do those things, you listen for the sound. Let them listen for the sound. And then you move to the next step. And it just feels so much slower than what you are likely most comfortable doing. So if in any of those moments your baby is arching or turning away or stiffening or crying, that's information. That's communication. And sometimes you could say, it doesn't seem like you want your diaper changed right now. Let's do it later. Other times, that's not appropriate. You can say, it seems like you don't want your diaper changed right now, but I know you'll be more comfortable with a fresh diaper, and I'm going to clean your body now. And just that reassurance and understanding as you have them do something that they don't want to do can make a huge difference in how they respond when they're older. You might already have one of these, but if you don't, I have to tell you about the Aura Ring. I started using it postpartum with my second baby so I could actually see how poor my sleep quality was. It tracks heart rate variability, your sleep, your recovery, your activity level, even subtle shifts in body temperature before you notice them yourself. I really loved watching my stats change throughout my third pregnancy and then improve postpartum. And honestly, one of my favorite things is that it gives me permission to rest. As someone who struggles to slow down, that is everything. So click the link in the show notes for 10% off an Oura Ring. Or if you already have one, grab one for your partner or for your parents. They deserve rest too. So let's talk about when babies say yes, what it looks like. Usually, their bodies are soft, their breathing is settling, they will hold eye contact with you. Their arms might even reach for you if they're old enough. They might give you a little exhale. They will have smooth movements in their arms. They may even look like they're moving toward you. So looking at you, coming towards you, flexing forward. And if they're saying no, or they're saying not yet, I need a minute, this is where people get uncomfortable. This is where people say, oh, but I don't want to be permissive, or, oh, but I don't want to hurt my baby. But like, we still have to change this diaper. So it's not necessarily about asking legal permission. It's about inviting their participation. Those no's can be anytime your baby's body is moving away. So arching back, they're lifting their chin up. Maybe their eyes are really wide and their eyebrows are really scrunched. Maybe they have a furrowed brow. Maybe they're crying. Maybe they're pushing with their hands and feet. But you might say something like, I see you don't want to do this. You're telling me no. This diaper needs to be changed. So we're going to do it together. I'll go slowly. And rushing through a diaper change is not the answer, even though it feels like it is sometimes. But in that case, you're acknowledging their communication, and the acknowledgement and validation of their experience can change their state regulation. So I want to talk about this in real life because I am not perfect. Nobody is. And I did not do this well with my first baby. I was efficient. I was competent. I had changed so many diapers. I was very good at getting things done. I would scoop her up while she was crying and think, I'm helping. And I did a lot for her. Now, I knew all of this and I tried to give her time during diaper changes, but she hated them forever. She just never liked having her diaper changed. And as much as this like beautiful, slow, steady diaper change was so appealing to me, it just didn't work for her. And that's okay. You know, I think you have to give yourself a break and know that any amount of effort that you're putting in to moving slowly with a newborn is super, super valuable. So when you think about the progression for me of my babies, with my third, I was so much slower. I also had to be slower for her because I had two other kids to keep track of. And one morning, I remember going to pick her up from her bassinet, and I put my hand on her chest and said, I'm going to pick you up now. And then I waited. And she looked at me, and her shoulders softened, and her body relaxed. She exhaled. And that exhale was the yes. And then as my hands went to lift her, her body stiffened in order to accommodate my hands. And I remember thinking, oh, this feels different. She wasn't being retrieved by me. She was joining me very much on purpose. And that pause really changed the tone of that particular interaction. And now I'm not saying that I did that perfectly every time either, you know, but I see this all the time, especially when I'm talking about giving massage. I teach families to gain consent before touch with massage. And the way that I do this is actually by rubbing your hands together. So you're just creating a little bit of heat between your hands, which is also nice for placing your hands on a baby. But the visual cue of your hands coming together is also really, really important. And babies learn these cues so efficiently, it is remarkable. I want to tell you about one of my clients who recently told me that her baby has been rubbing her own hands together to request a massage because her mom did that every single night before she gave her a massage. And that alone is just worth everything. That baby is not only noticing when my mom rubs her hands together, she then puts them onto my body and it feels really nice. But then she's using that to request the touch. Another place that this comes up a lot is in breastfeeding, and especially in like those early latches that feel challenging, where medical providers are really trying to help. And one of the biggest mistakes that I tend to see is when people just kind of shove the baby onto the breast and don't allow for the baby to use their reflexes to find a latch. Their nervous system responds to that by saying, something is being done to me. When something is placed in a newborn's mouth, they actually have a reflex to suck, swallow, and breathe. And a reflex means they don't get to choose. If something is in their mouth, they have to suck on it. So if a medical provider is shoving your baby's head onto your boob to try to get a good latch, that's almost never going to work as a long-term solution. And then when a baby starts to be able to integrate that reflex, meaning they get to decide when to suck, when to swallow, when to breathe, they decide they don't want to. And that's when you see bottle refusal and breast refusal, and it can be really overwhelming. But when parents slow down, they slowly brush the nipple gently across the baby's lips. They wait for a gape, meaning the mouth opening. They wait for the rooting reflex. That's the baby participating. And when the baby can kind of root and find their way on to latch, the latch is almost always smoother. It's not magic. It's nervous system regulation and the symphony of reflexes working together to create a beautiful feeding experience. Okay, here's the part that is a little uncomfortable. As a culture, we say we care about bodily autonomy. We say we want our kids to speak up if someone crosses a line. But from birth, we are constantly overriding their cues. If you listened to episode 3 with Laura Lucha, it was called Stop Ignoring Your Body Is Trying to Help You. We talk about this, that we expect kids to ignore what their bodies are trying to tell them. So if they're running around too much, we tell them they have to sit still. When we have our periods, we're told to just ignore that and move on with our lives. We hold our babies down to wipe their faces and their noses when they're so snotty. We force a latch. We push babies into tummy time who are screaming because they're so uncomfortable. And that's usually because of weakness or tension in their body. And what they learn when we force things like tummy time is they learn that tummy time is bad. I don't want tummy time. And then it becomes every time they get into tummy time, they're crying to get out of it. We have to be able to find ways to get babies into positions that are challenging for them without forcing them and without ignoring their communication, because a baby can be frustrated in tummy time. I want a baby to let me know that they're frustrated, and I'll tell them, I know this is hard work for you. I know it's frustrating. I know you wish you could lift your head higher. So let's find a way for you to be able to do that. And if they're really crying, really protesting, it's not functional anymore. It's not really helping them. So we'll flip back to supine. We'll talk to each other. We'll try to make up because I don't want a baby to be mad at me. And then we move back to the challenging activity in a little bit less challenging of a way. And I think we lack the ability to show babies that their body signals matter, even though we are really huge on consent. Consent does not start in adolescence. It starts on the changing table. If your baby ever needs a pacifier, and not all babies do, the one I want in your world is the Ninny. It is the only pacifier designed to actually mimic the shape and function of the breast. It's softer at the base like an areola and firmer at the tip like a nipple. And that shape supports supports healthy oral development instead of interfering with it. What I love is that babies can't just passively hold it in their mouth. It's counterintuitive. Parents get frustrated, but babies have to actually work hard. I call it my workout pacifier. And tongue strength and mobility matters for feeding. It matters for regulation and for long-term oral function. Plus, babies don't tend to get dependent on this pacifier the way that they do with traditional pacifiers, or especially pacifiers with a bulb on the end. It just sits in their high palate and hangs out. So if you're pregnant, postpartum, or buying for someone you love, you can grab one through the link in our show notes or use the code BEWELLBABY for 10% off. BEWELLBABY for 10% off at checkout. So here are a couple of everyday moments that you may encounter in your lives with your sweet babies. Bath time. So taking clothes off, putting clothes on. I'm going to help you take your shirt off. And one of the cool things about this is as you're narrating, they understand so much more than we give them credit for, right? Their receptive language is unbelievable. So if you start by saying, I'm going to help you take your shirt off, then you can pull on the sleeve and watch how their recoil, they'll actually flex as a newborn. As they flex, they're helping. And you can say, thank you for helping. Let's get this around your neck. Okay, you ready for it to go over your face? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And then you put it over their face and you can play a little game of peekaboo. You can pause. You can watch for their response. And then before you actually get them in the water, if we're talking about bath, it's going to be warm. Let's see how warm it is. Maybe put their feet in first. Lower them slowly. And if they do startle, you can say, oh, that surprised you. Let's go a little slower. Then they start to learn what surprise is. They start to learn what speed is. Okay, another little everyday moment is, oh, you have some milk on your face. I'm just going to wipe it. Rather than just wiping it off without saying anything, show them the cloth, touch it to their hand first, and say, do you want to wipe it? And then you can do it together. Move slowly. And know that all of these things are leading to your baby being able to do them by themselves sooner, therefore leading to much less frustration on your part and their part. I have a 2-year-old who is so good at wiping her face and wiping up messes because she's been given the opportunity to do that to herself. People have not been doing it to her for her whole life. And that is remarkable. Another situation you'll encounter is picking your baby up, just saying, I'm going to lift you now, or I'm going to hold you. My 2-year-old still says, I want to hold you. When she wants me to hold her, I'm never going to correct her. So first you would put your hands on their body and then pause and wait to see if something happens. Wait to see if their body stiffens just a little bit. If they seem like they're helping, it can change their muscle tone, their breath. It can change the interaction from management to collaboration. Because when babies are consistently invited into participation, they regulate their emotions faster, they resist less, they trust more, and over time, they develop strong interoception, which is the awareness of things going on inside their own bodies. They will learn, my body is saying something. This means something. And my cues mean something to the people around me. When I communicate something, people listen, people respond. And that foundation is huge. And it's not because we are trying to raise perfectly self-advocating adults from the bassinet. It's because nervous systems wired for respect tend to stay more regulated. But you aren't going to narrate every single thing. You are going to get tired. You're going to rush bedtime. You're going to wipe your kid's face because there's so much snot on their face. And if you give them a tissue, they're just going to wipe the snot all over their face. That's okay. This is not about perfection. This is about a very, very subtle internal shift from I have to get them in the car seat to we are getting in the car seat together. That's a big one, especially for babies who hate the car seat, because it's about safety, right? They have to be in the car seat. There's no other choice. We're going somewhere and I have to strap you down, and it feels horrible. But if you can frame it like, I hear you. I hear you don't want to be in your car seat. I know that this is tough for you. And I also know that I'm doing the best thing for your body right now to keep you safe. It's my job. And we're going to be there really soon, and that can kind of help to regulate your own nervous system when you are starting to feel dysregulated by their communication. I really want to shift your understanding also from they're too young to understand to they understand more than I realize. When you start seeing your baby as someone that you're working with instead of someone that you're doing stuff to and managing, you stop feeling this huge responsibility. You stop bracing, and that gentle pause, it doesn't just build time for them to give you consent. It builds trust, and it builds body awareness, and it builds a human who knows deep in their body that their signals matter. It also allows you to remember to take time. And none of that is small. Hi, Hank. How are you doing today?
Good.
You're doing good?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How does it feel to you when I touch your body when I didn't ask?
I don't know.
What if I try to wipe you down? Like wipe your body after you've worn your pull-up all night without asking?
Bad.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you wish I did instead?
Waited.
Waited for what?
Waited for you to take off my pull-up.
So you wish that I waited until I took off your pull-up or until you took off your pull-up?
You took off my pull-up.
Does it sometimes feel frustrating when I think it's time to take your pull-up off and you're not ready?
Yeah, I do.
You do. What do you wish I did instead?
Take off my pull-up a different time.
What if we really need to get to school and it's time to go and we gotta go? What should I do?
I don't know.
It's not always very straightforward. I don't know either. So you just heard me and my sweet son talking about the experience of getting wiped down after wearing a pull-up all night. And that's a common experience for older kids. As babies get older, I think it actually gets more complicated, not less. Their autonomy grows, their opinions become very, very strong, their resistance grows, and our job is still to keep them safe and clean, not stinky. So we are constantly balancing respect and responsibility. And you may have noticed that even in that conversation, we didn't land on a perfect answer. Sometimes he wants me to wait, but we don't have time. And honestly, sometimes I don't know what to do either, just like I said. And that's all part of the journey. But if we start early enough, really, really trying to gain consent in a way that allows our nervous systems to stay regulated, it can be a game changer. Consent with babies, especially as they get older, is never clean. It's not a checklist. It's a relationship that you're constantly renegotiating. And your tiny little babies will very, very quickly start to be opinionated communicators with you. There are moments where we have to move forward. There are moments where we can't pause, but there are some moments where we can pause. There are moments where we can repair afterwards. And I think it's important that our babies see that we're thinking about this, that we're willing to ask. We're willing to hear, that made me feel bad. Even if we can't change their feelings, we can't change the outcome. Even if we have to go to school, it's time to go. Even if we have to put them in the car seat while they're crying, or we have to change their diaper while they're crying. Just knowing that you are most of the time, giving them some time can make a huge difference. And repair is everything. So today, don't overhaul everything. Don't narrate every single thing that you're doing. And then your partner looks at you like, what has happened to your brain? Are you okay? Just pick one moment. Slow that moment down. Put your hands on your baby. Wait. And see what they say. They've been talking to you the whole time. Audio and music production by the amazing Peter Gary, with Lillian Ewert managing all scheduling and operations of Be Well Baby, including this podcast. Thank you both for making this happen. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and I'd love for you to follow us on Instagram at BeWellBabyPDX or visit BeWellBaby.org to book a time to chat with us. And if this episode helped you, please send it to someone who's pregnant, postpartum, or someone in your life who wants to support you better. No one should have to do this alone. Welcome to Be Well Baby. You're in the right place.